Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to start off by apologizing for us being 13 minutes late. You have to love and hate technology at the same time. We had some issues getting on, but we're here now. My name is Amir Tabrizi, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at the Eric Stewart Group. And I want to thank you all for joining us on our first ever episode of Real Talk with the Eric Stewart Group. Now, I'll tell you who we are, and then I'll introduce these two great subject matter experts we have here. And then they'll give us a bio about who they are, and maybe they can share a fun fact about themselves. This show is brought to you by the Eric Stewart Group to help you navigate today's real estate market. It's crazy out there. Houses are selling for 100,000 more than asking price. Things are going up and down faster than a seesaw, but we're here to bring some calm into this crazy storm. And this show isn't just for consumers, it's for our fellow realtors, anyone who's interested in real estate or does any work in real estate. With me, I have two amazing subject matter experts. Both of them, I think, combined together, you guys have more than 50 years and have managed, either been in or overseen over $1 billion. That's B with that's a B, not an M, B. And I'm going to take a second to introduce them to you. We have Eric Stewart, who is our CEO and one of our top realtors with the Eric Stewart Group. And then we have Robert Garcia, who's our Director of Sales and Operations. Eric, would you mind taking a second, just giving us a quick bio about yourself and maybe share a fun fact about you?
Sure. Folks, I've been practicing the real estate business for about 35 years, and real estate to me is like surfing. I love getting out on the street and selling houses. Every day I wake up and I'm excited about what I do. Love meeting new people, and I really love just catching waves, whatever they look like. Like it could be a small listing, or it could be a large listing. It could be a very difficult family situation, or it could be any number of things. But I really enjoy it, and I've loved it since I started in 1987.
Awesome. And then we have Mr. Robert Garcia. Robert, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Robert Garcia here, Director of Sales and Operations with the Eric Stewart Group, and I have the privilege to work with these two great gentlemen here that they know their stuff very well. I've been with the team, I think this is my 19th year with the Eric Stewart Group. So I'm been selling real estate. I'm a systems guy. I love systems. I love processes, and I have the privilege to put a lot of the systems together for the Eric Stewart Group, those things that people don't see because they happen behind the scenes, but I'm the one responsible for most of them, if not all, when it comes to operations. And also I help and coach the agents at the Eric Stewart Group to be more successful, to be able to win more opportunities, and to ultimately serve the clients, give the clients the best service that we can. And something fun about me, I'm a foodie guy. I love to try to explore all kinds of foods and restaurants around here. So if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to drop here a line in the live. So a new place that we should all explore. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Robert. So like Robert mentioned, we are live. So if you guys have any questions, comments, anything that comes up, whether you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching us on Facebook, feel free to drop a comment where you're watching this. This will come to us and I will ask these guys that question on your behalf. So to give you guys an idea of what we will cover today, we are going to discuss just a few topics that I think is helpful for our audience. We're going to discuss what role does an agent play in the sale or purchase of your home, the 10 questions you should ask a realtor before hiring one, why realtors discounting their commission can be costly to you, why are some agents worth more, and how your agent's social media presence can help or hurt you. So I want to start off with Eric. Eric, you've been in the industry for probably a good amount of time, right? We could say that. Can you tell us what role does an agent play when it comes to the sale of your property? So just the listing aspect of it, please.
Well, I think a good analogy is the use of a quarter, looking at a quarterback quarterback for the team. So your quarterback follows the coach's direction, but gives the coach input along the way. The coach ultimately tells what play to call in order to try to win the game. So a real estate agent is like the quarterback, and the owner of a property or the buyer is like the coach. Okay. Now, the guiding hand on the field is the quarterback, and they have to call plays fiduciarily. That's a word I like to use to describe the commitment as an agent to that team to win the game and get the best score. So think of that real estate agent as a person who looks out for the whole team, gets in touch with the coach, gives the coach input. The coach ultimately gives direction, and then he follows the coach's direction. Sometimes there are audible plays, sometimes there are difficult situations, and decisions have to be made, and trust has to be uh, expressed between the coach and the quarterback, between the owner or the buyer and the realtor. So, my job, your job as a real estate agent, is to look at the entire process of 119 steps from the beginning of a relationship all the way through to closing escrow and decide the best way to win that for the client.
Awesome. Sorry about that. So, Robert, can you tell us from, and just as a clarification point to everyone, just because I direct a question to, Eric for a listing perspective or Robert from a buyer's perspective doesn't, I mean, these guys both cover both aspects of the industry. They have done sales, they've done buyers, so they know what they're talking about both, but I want to kind of just hear different prospects of it. So, Robert, from a buyer's perspective, right? So right now it's tough for buyers. I mean, they're losing out on many deals. Things are tough right now. But could you tell us what's the role of the agent when it comes to buying a property, or if they are a kind of an in-between buyer, meaning they're selling a property and then they're buying as well?
So it kind of goes along the lines what Eric just explained in terms of in the football team, who the agent is. I think it's let's look at the real estate agent. I'm going to speak from the buyer side as the person that will guide you through the process. I mean, let's be honest, right? People, in average, only buy or sell homes, every 7 to 10 years. In some cases, 15, 20 years. So it's not something that people do quite often, but we realtors do, and that's what we are in this industry. So I think that the main goal here is that a real estate agent should be able to coach you through the whole process of buying a house, and point you in the right direction, because let's all be honest, that realtor is not responsible to do everything, but is like the maestro in the orchestra. Like, he's the guy that will oversee the whole process to make sure everybody's playing at the same tune, at the same level, and all the processes work. So at the end of the day, as I said before, it's our obligation as realtors to provide the best service and have the client be the winner. And what's the price? It's a house, right? It's your dream house. Always tell people, like, if it's 6 months after you purchase a house, you call your realtor to say that you hate your house, that means your realtor didn't do a good job coaching you through the process of choosing the right home for you and your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's key. And to both of your points, you know, uh, in June, it'll be 7 years that I've had the uh, absolute pleasure of working with these two gentlemen within the Eric Stewart group. And I think, I've heard Eric say, real estate's like surfing, kind of catching the wave. And what I've learned is from buying a house myself, it's really crucial who you have representing you. I mean, if you don't trust the expert, right? It's like you don't show up to the doctors trying to tell them how to do their job. It's kind of the same thing with us here. We've seen it all, and we're here to help you. So thank you both for that. Now, some of us may be starting in the process of selling our home or buying our homes, but we talk about something, and we're at the Eric Stewart Group, we're all about the education aspect of it, right? Like Eric has preached that from the beginning with his radio show on WMAL for over 15 years now. And Robert being very much focused on just education. There is no sales pressure in it. Gentlemen, I think one of the things that we have done that's very unique here is we have put together a guide called the Market Ready Guide. And actually, Eric, that's something you've done is Eric's put together a Market Ready Guide. And in the Market Ready Guide, there is something that I absolutely love from a transparency perspective is what are the 10 questions you should ask a realtor before you hire one? And this is important because this is coming from to real estate agents, right? So you guys are giving the audience the secret sauce, right? Like what should you be asking? How should you vet the potential agent you're going to hire? Eric, we're going to start with you, and you guys will see. I'm going to pull up something on our stream deck here, and that will have some of the questions Eric will cover. But at the same time, I will have our guide information and such on the left side. So if you guys ever want to reach out to us and get your copy of this award-winning guide, call us at 800-900-9104. It's 1-800-900-9104, or go to ericstewartgroup.com. You guys will see all the content there. Eric, can you maybe highlight what you think are, 2 or 3 really good questions that a seller should consider asking when they're interviewing real estate agents?
I think the first question is, why should I work with you? It's such a primary opportunity, open-ended question to ask a real estate agent. If you've got experience, tell us about your experience. Tell us a little bit about you. What drives you? What makes you different? Help me understand how you work with a client. Express yourself to me. And I think you can get a lot of insight from how comfortable anybody is by just asking them an open-ended question and allowing them to talk. Don't be afraid to do so, and give the agent 10 or even 15 minutes to go on about themselves. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. Give the agent a chance to talk about themselves and talk about you.
Right.
And then focus on how much attention they pay on you and what they're going to do for you in how they talk about themselves. Because if it's all about them and it's not about you, that's going to be a good insight to where their mindset is naturally.
Gotcha. Can you maybe, Eric, cover one more, if you don't mind, of the 10 questions you should ask? Let's speak truth here. I love the marketing aspect of it. So can you just tell us a little bit more about the second question we have here, which is describe your marketing strategy?
Sure. Causing a buyer to react to a home requires creating a conversation that they may not even be thinking about having about that property. Maybe it's a dream they have to have a home like that, but they don't know how to express it.
Mm-hmm.
You look at great marketing, it doesn't just tell you. There's a dining room, there's a living room, there's a family room. Okay, sure. Creating a floor plan that helps a buyer access the actual usability of the home for themselves and their family. Shows the dimensions of the room, has an easy access photo, so you get a sense of the light in that space. That's great. And that's the practical side of where can I put my couch? My dining room table will fit here or it won't, that kind of thing. One of the worst things that my clients can have happen to them, and I've really tried to protect them from this, is a buyer walking into a house and being there for 2 minutes, walk into 2 spaces, turn around, and walk out. Now think about that. If you're a home seller and you've prepared your house, and you've vacuumed and wiped everything down, put the dishes away, you're waiting for this person to come into the house, and they're in and out in 2 minutes, your first reaction is going to be, what gives? why is it like that? Why did they come in like that? Well, often I think that's because there's not enough information in the listing to give the buyer the ability to qualify themselves that even a home they should really think about. Pictures might look nice, might be in the right neighborhood, but we're not giving them the square footage of the space or individual rooms. So by giving that information, they're going to be able to decide that, say they celebrate Shabbat on a Friday night, and they need a certain size dining room, or they've got 6 kids and they want to homeschool. They want to know how big their rec room is going to be, or it could be ambulatory issues are an issue for that particular buyer. How are they going to get in and get out? Show the dimensions of the rooms. So I think marketing needs to give more information, but it also needs to create that question. So, for
Awesome.
instance, just the sizzle on the steak, as they say in marketing, a family room. Well, what can you do in the family room? What could anybody do in the family? If you're looking at the window, you focus on observing the western sunset view while sipping your pina colada. It could be something along those lines. Put the
Sounds lovely.
person into the house and how they can use it.
Awesome. And Robert, I'm gonna come to you in a second, and I would love for you to cover maybe one or two questions as well, and then I do have a question for both of you. But something that we offer that's really that Eric had mentioned is like the sizzle on the steak. With technology, you have so many different options, and we'll cover this in a later episode where we talk about staging a little bit more. But the way we invest in our systems through, of course, our amazing director of operations, Robert Garcia here, because of he's always innovating, he's always trying to find something to bring in. We have this amazing thing called virtual staging. And from someone who looks over all the marketing materials that are done for every single property, I can tell you that it sells, if you have a room that has outdated, if it's just empty or if it's outdated furniture or something you just need to move, or there's so many things we can do with the power of technology. And I think one of the most important pieces is how people display their properties online. So to your point, Eric, like the sizzle on the steak, it matters, and it matters on everything because as agents, we're getting hired to sell a service, but also we're selling a product, which is this amazing home. And a house is not something we all just buy over and over again every other year. I mean, we stay in these houses for a long time. So, Mr. Garcia, can you give us a few questions that sellers or even buyers should be asking before they hire an agent? And then Eric and Robert, after Robert brings this up, I would love to hear what are some red flags that consumers should look out for when they're having these conversations with agents.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. So I think one of the most important questions that buyers and sellers should be asking a real estate agent is, do you have experience in either helping people sell or helping people buy this type of property in this location neighborhood? Because that's sort of gives a sense of hyper local knowledge for this real estate agent. So imagine we are here in Montgomery County, this is our headquarters. You calling someone that it comes from Baltimore, Maryland, that's about 45 to an hour driving distance, to come and list your house here in Potomac, Maryland. And they're going to probably not going to know a lot of the schools in the area, easy access to the airports and the commuting roads and metro and so on. So I think this is very important when someone really has to know and have that local knowledge. And that's one of the things with here at the Eric Stewart Group that Eric is emphasizing. It's like, you got to know your numbers, you got to know your stuff, like you got to know how many homes are on the market, got to know what's your the rate of absorption right now for the inventory that we have and so on, because that's really when you start to show a client that you have a good handle of what's happening in the real estate market.
Awesome. I mean, that's the hyper local agent, right? Like that's something that we preach, and Eric teaches here with all agents is, know your neighborhoods, know where you're going, because if you don't, then it's really hard to show people around. So Eric, what are some red flags, right? So I'm looking to sell my house, or I'm looking to buy, and I'm interviewing an agent. What are some red flags that I should listen out for, or keywords that I should listen for that should kind of maybe cause me to kind of dig deeper into that statement, or just things that I should stay away from?
The idea of a hyper local agent is it's good to know the ground in a war. It's good to know where the parks are, the schools, where the sidewalks are, that kind of thing. That's important to know it. But it it requires an aerial campaign as well as a ground campaign. So having somebody who just knows your neighborhood is not enough, I think, to access the full measure of buyers. What we've done is taught our agents how to research a specific neighborhood, even if they've never sold it, so that they parachute in, land with expertise, and know how to sell the benefits of that neighborhood and a home like that. Being familiar with selling a home like that in a price range like that is important, but you don't have to have sold a home in a neighborhood to be able to sell a house in a neighborhood with excellence. Just you need to know how to gather the intelligence about the schools and the parks and so on, as I said. So get that information and then bring with it some of the tools that a good real estate agent can gather from the internet, from the marketing and dissemination of the content across multiple platforms. So, yeah, so I think it can be a red flag if somebody's just there and may not also see the broader picture. Okay. The broader picture would be the uh, just the sense of what the overall market is doing at that moment in time. For instance,
Oh, we can hear you.
selling is um, if you've sold just in Potomac, Maryland, you're not going to necessarily see how the tide is rising or falling for other houses in other areas. Seeing the wave of demand coming out from DC, heading towards Arlington, or heading out towards Centerville, or out towards PG, up into Montgomery. When you see prices rising from the strongest point, it's going to bubble over into the areas that are next, and so on. Like a pebble in a pond, the ripple effect in pricing takes a little bit of time for it to be realized.
Mhm.
And distance is usually the indicator of pricing, meaning if you're in Washington, D.C., for the longest time, excuse me, for the longest time, Washington, D.C. was depressed, and the strength was actually in Arlington, Bethesda, Chevy Chase, and then rings out from there. But D.C. has fully come back to its potential, and it's been the strongest. And then those rings go out. So see that, know that. This is important as well as a good real.
Awesome. If you guys are just joining us, we are discussing. We left kind of discussing 10 questions to ask a realtor, and my question to these two gentlemen were, what are some red flags that you as the consumer should look for, or dig it deeper into if it's brought up by an agent? Mr. Garcia, what are some red flags that you would say are things that the clientele should be listening out for, and if they hear it, what are some good follow-up questions they can ask?
So I think that the the most typical, probably on the listing side, if somebody would be willing to make an adjustment in commission without having any reasoning behind it. So always tell people that agents are marketers and they are negotiators. Those are the two hats that real estate agents should be wearing. And if they don't have a good plan of action for any of these two fields, you should be very concerned. So if somebody's willing to discount his or her commission up front, big red flag, right? Or if somebody's just say, well, initially we're going to try this in marketing. If that doesn't work, then we're going to try this. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to try this. And hopefully by the time we try the fourth, fifth thing, the house is already under contract. Big red flag, right? It just, by trying real estate, it's not a trying environment. Real estate, it's a instant gratification environment, meaning that the buyers are going to pay attention to the listings that provide the most information as they are looking for. So if you're looking for a home, you want to know when the roof was replaced, right? So that's something that agents should be thinking about in terms of how you're going to present a house to someone so that they have a lot of interest. I think Eric has a way to put it together in a nice way. We work very heavily on the online traffic, that once we convince them that the product that we have is what they want, then that becomes foot traffic, and that actually turns out to be showings to your property through either other real estate agents and brokers or through our team. And that's very important right there. So if an agent does not have a plan of action for the two fields that I just mentioned areas, then that's a huge, huge red flag. And let's be honest, right? Getting into the real estate industry is not a rocket science, right? You will go and sit in front of in a classroom, take your hours for the real estate exam, pass the local exam, and then go for the national and estate portion. And then you have your pay the fee, you have your real estate license, and then boom, you are actually able to sell real estate as long as you're affiliated with a broker. Well, that's not really necessarily what you're looking for. Remember, it's the biggest asset investment some people have, real estate. So you don't want to give it to someone that does not have a good plan of action.
Awesome. Again, we are discussing 10 questions to ask a realtor before you hire one. And I was asking these gentlemen some red flags that you will see. Robert touched on something, which was discounting commissions, which we will actually get into later. And Eric, we're actually going to start with you explaining us what the word commission is. But before we go there, I want to ask you both a question. And I think from a consumer perspective, you guys have, Eric, you started your, you look great, but I'm not saying this to show your age, right? Just please humor me here. But to say, when you started, you used to, you say to me, you've said to me many times, it's when you started in the industry, there were the 4 P's, right? It was put a sign up. Can you say that for me? Oh, we don't have your voice, Eric. You might be on mute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 4 P's are for a realtor to put a property in the MLS, put a sign up, put a lockbox in the door, and then pray that it sells. So
The 4 P's. We love those
it's
4 P's.
yeah,
And the reason why this question is really intriguing for me is because I think, change is hard, right? We can all admit that change is very hard. But one of the kudos I'll give to you, Eric, is you've been very receptive to the change of the market from where you started, which were the 4 P's, to the way we do business now. And I think adaptation is so important in any business you're a part of. So my question for you two is, what marketing questions should you ask an agent before you hire them? And what I want you guys to focus on a little bit here is a little bit of the new thing, which is this social media play that's played into, most listings we go to or appointments we go to. And specifically, how does the agent's social media presence play a role into the sale or buy of their home? Robert, what are some questions that as a consumer we should be asking regarding marketing? And what are some questions you've gotten as an agent when you go on listing appointments?
That's a great question, Amir. So I think what people want to know is, I think there are two ways of doing marketing. The old way of doing marketing, which is, used to be, mailers, ads in the newspaper, local magazines, of course, open house, signs, directional signs, and so on. That is still works very well. And it attracts certain people that like that style of marketing. But now you have social media, and social media has changed the way many industries work. Like, you now have things like, Netflix. What used to be that you go to Blockbuster and rent a movie and go and watch it. Now just find the app on your TV, and
Those
then
were those were great days, by the way. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but those were great days. Like I remember going to the, Blockbuster in the Kentlands and parents being like, "You get one," and then you're just running up and down those aisles. But sorry, keep going.
So now the social media has changed things, and with devices like our mobile, our iPhones, Androids, whatever you have, now that's something that you really have to use and leverage from it. So I think it's very important to distinguish what is your traditional marketing campaign and what is your new, more social media campaign, because there's going to be certain demographics that will be more attracted to one style than the other. And if you only concentrate on one, it's I think it's a red flag. It's like, it's somebody telling you, I'm a real estate agent, and the moment you go on Google their name, they're not play you cannot find them online. I think that's a huge red flag. If somebody tells you that I'm a realtor, I'm very successful, but you cannot find them online, that's a big problem in my opinion. So that's where a lot of people ask me sometimes, are you active on social media? What kind of social media marketing you guys do for the listings and so on? So that's sort of like the questions that I normally get asked by buyers, and I always provide them with information. Of course, we have our Facebook, Eric Stewart Group Facebook page, where we post all of our listings. What I think we are currently streaming this live. So this is our place where we would have all the educational things that we do, as well as the marketing for our properties or other topics. So that's how we handle them here.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, again, I love the marketing aspect of and the social media presence aspect of it. And I do think it's huge to ask those questions. Eric, for you, you have very successfully adapted from the 4 Ps to now, the full scope of inbound and outbound marketing and all that fun stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about what are some questions you get regarding marketing when you go to listings? And then also maybe for our real estate friends, what is a piece of advice you would give them? Maybe this agent is scared to take the leap into being really into social media. What is an advice you would give to them that kind of helped you embrace this change and make it?
Well, as most folks struggle with putting themselves out there, I think, and consistently talking about themselves on social media. I know when social media first came out, for me, it was and it still is. It almost seems like I'm self congratulating at times. When I put stuff on the web about here's what I did, here's what I did, here's what I did. But really think of it this way: it's not about braggadocio. It's really about building relationship. And if you focus on the family that you have, the dreams that you have, and throw in some of the real estate that you're doing and not make that your primary focus all the time unless you have a channel that is specifically focused on real estate. Folks don't want to hear all about your business all the time. Okay. It's not, I mean, unless you are like a teacher and you're teaching a channel that's all about real estate, okay, then everybody comes there because they need to learn about real estate. If you're going to be on social media, embrace the fact that there are those that you get to know just in the everyday course of life who will love to hear from you what you're doing, how you're doing, and if you share like from your heart, even show funny pictures. I I had a tooth knock actually out of my mouth about 2.5 weeks ago, and I took a picture of myself with no front tooth, and it's a tooth that I broke when I was 9 years old, and it had just chipped off, and it finally just broke, and I had a gaping hole where my front tooth was, and I posted that on my social media, and I made light of myself. It wasn't flattering. It was like, wow, look at this. This is what happened. And of course, everybody made jokes about it. Like I was joking about it myself because I looked like I could have been, Alex Ovechkin's brother or something. And it's
By the way,
good
they
to,
won their first game last night.
I know.
Great for. I mean, that pass from Backstrom. Gosh, sorry, got distracted. You
It
brought
was
him up.
gorgeous, right? I
It
know.
was beautiful. Eric, would you mind if I share that picture that you posted?
No, I don't mind if you want to.
Okay,
It's
we'll
fine.
keep going. I'll share it with us. I think it's a great picture, by the way. I think it's pretty. It's very it's like you mentioned. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think it's very empowering when you can. It's hard to put yourself out there. Like, let's be honest, it's really hard to put yourself out there because you're sharing the quote unquote flaws of it. But I think that's what also people want to see, right? We're not robots. Things happen in our lives. But sorry, go ahead. As you say this, I will pull up our this image.
Great. I'm so glad I brought this up.
Me too.
Yeah. So I think you're right about that, Amir. It's the reality of life. It's the difficulty. It's one of my friends posted a picture of her like from 10 years ago that she brought up as a memory, and it was like driving her kids to school, and she had tin foil in her hair because she was trying to get her hair looking nice, and she took a picture of herself and she shared it. It's like
here's the photo there.
Yeah, so I'm in a temporary right now until I get a permanent tooth in a couple
I mean,
of weeks.
that's a gnarly hockey look right there.
I'm telling you, I had an open house the next day, and in fact, I have a radio show. So before I went to this was a DC United soccer game that I went to. Before I went to that game, I had my radio show. My tooth broke just before the show, so I went and did the show with a lisp. It was precious. We did not podcast that after we were done because it was clear that. I almost wore an Alex Ovechkin jersey to an open house, but I didn't. I just went without my tooth and my suit, and we ended up selling the house for $250 over the asking price. And what I found was what you just said. I tried to keep my mouth kind of closed like this when I was talking to folks. But but then ultimately, if somebody was really engaging me, they could tell something's going on, and they would look at my mouth, they look at my eyes, look at my mouth, look at my eyes. And this one lady walked in. Her name is Penny, and I was a little self-conscious, and I just said, hey, I was at Cold Spring Elementary School, which is where I graduated from elementary school. Third grade, I tripped down some steps going out to the playground, and I started sharing this, and she looked at me and she tapped her front 2 teeth and she said, "These aren't real either." And it was just, it was nice. It is nice when I think folks relate to you, and I think that's even the point of the sharing that story is, you can get to a point, and you see this sometimes, where someone's life just seems almost too good to be true, and it's almost not relatable. It's just like admirable, right? But when you are relatable and admirable together at the same time. I think that's what endears you. So don't be afraid to use social media as a means of building relationship, because inevitably, my birthday is in March 23rd, and there was a huge bash that Long and Foster threw to celebrate 2021, and it was the same day. And so at the party, I had all my friends who were on social media with me all came over and said, "Happy birthday." They all knew because they saw it on social media. So
Yeah.
it made, and I think that's also a benefit. We stay in touch with people without actually calling them or talking to them. We just get a snippet, right? We get an observation. So
Yeah.
try it. It's fun, and keep it light like that.
I mean, I think one of the things is the power of social media. Yes, we can get consumed in many, many different ways when it comes to social media, but I think the power that it has is tremendous, and especially for real estate agents. I mean, you guys can easily use that channel or use that, platform to always stay in front of your clients. And I think that's huge. And for all of our agents that are listening, it's very important for you to adapt to this new way of anything that happens in the world, right? Like if you want to find out some information, someone's birthday, like Eric just mentioned, first place I go to is Facebook. And I'm like looking that person up, it's like, did I miss their birthday? Or get the notifications every day. Or if I'm, wanna it's also nice when you get like an update from someone who used to be friends with in high school that you guys may not be as close, or in college, and you see those updates with their family. It can be very, don't get me wrong, social media can be, any platform can be a dangerous or dark place, but I think the way we use it and our intentions are very, very important. Um, I'm going to ask you guys one last question about this, and then we'll go on to our next topic. Eric and Robert, and we'll start with you, Robert. What is one piece of advice in 60 minutes or 60 seconds? It's not 60 minutes, 60 seconds or less. We'll be here for a while. 60 seconds or less. What is one piece of advice that you would give a fellow realtor when it comes to adaptation of social media? And go.
Just try it. I know that it may seem awkward. It may seem that it's not you. It may seem that it's not something that you are used to. It's just like anything in life. Like the first time you go to the gym, January 2nd of every year, you want to go to the gym. You just want to, you don't want to do it, but you know that you have to. Just got to try it. You just really got to try it. That's just no other thing. Just try it. It may not look good at the first time. It may not look good or perfect the first time. That's okay. People are not looking for perfection. People are looking for means to connect to others based on common ground. And sometimes some people say, look, I've seen people on social media said, I am very shy. I'm not good on the camera, but my coach or my friend told me that I have to be doing this because that's what a lot of people are doing, and it's a good way to connect. I mean, that takes a lot. There's probably going to other people that are introverts, that are shy. They're going to feel like, oh my gosh, if he or she did it, I can do it. So just going back, just try it. Believe me, it is no harm. Just try it. You'll be fine.
So what you're saying is you're channeling your inner Shia LaBeouf, and you're saying it's coming. I promise.
Do it. Just do it.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's your gotcha. Do it, just do it.
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart, 60 seconds and less. What is one piece of advice you would give to an agent that is kind of stuck between the old way of doing real estate and marketing to where the transition is taking us?
Following on what Robert said, do it again. So, like, you do it, just do it, and then just do it again. Okay, and just do it again. And so it could be as something as simple as once a week. If you're going through your life and you just take pictures during the week of what your life is, it could be the house that you're going to go hopefully list, and maybe you just list it. And so you take a picture of that house and you go on Facebook and say, I'm so thrilled that I just got this new listing, and you share that. And or it could be, my tooth broke, or it could be, I went out to lunch with my sister. Here's my sister and I,
Right.
so it doesn't have to be video. It can be just still shots. You can shoot video though now, of course, with a stick and with a stick that would hold a phone, and then like I had a listing in Oakton, Virginia, a few years ago, and a tree fell on the house, and we were under contract at that point to go to settlement, and so the tree destroyed the roof and part of the master bedroom and into the kitchen, and it was a big ordeal. So, and I just literally, I hadn't even walked around to the back, but I I heard that there was a problem at the house. I think somebody called me, so I drove out there. I had my stick, I put my phone on it, and I just filmed myself saying I'm at this home in Oakton, and I walked around. I turned the camera now away from myself, so it was looking at the house, and walked around the house, and there was the tree, just lying there with the huge part of the tree resting on the house, and it just garnered a lot of interest because it's fascinating, right? It's just fascinating to see something so unusual. You could go out to Wolf Trap and see a show and be sitting in the grass and take a picture of a beautiful evening, or anything at all. Just do it again. Okay.
Yeah. And just sharing with you guys, this is what the house looked like when when Eric showed up, and this is it after fixing it. If you guys want to see that video, it's on our website. If you just look up the word timber, I'm gonna brag about that. I was a part of making that title. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, if you guys want to go check that out, it's on our. Thank you. It's on our website. It's on our blogs. It's timber. Or you can look that up on YouTube. Just look up the Eric Stewart Group, and then you'll see when a tree falls. So, I don't have a sound to play after what you just said, Eric. So, I'll spare everyone that. Now, the next topic is, I think it's an important topic because this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest transaction anybody, takes part of. So there is a fee that comes with it. And I think, they like to call themselves disruptors, right? And not trying to speak ill about anybody. And people have their own different ways of doing business. But the commission seems to be a keyword or a buzzword that is always brought up, whether it's webinars that we do with our Coffee with Eric Stewart. Shameless plug-in, go on our website, sign up for that. Call us 800-900-9104. You can sign up for that as well. But it happens every other Thursday, 10:30 to 11:30. Sorry. But it's something that gets brought up a lot, right? Like we've done events where it's like, Eric, but why do you charge this and this person charges this? Before we even get to that, Eric, can you help us understand what the heck does the word commission even mean? And how is it that an agent gets paid? Because we could have somebody who is interested in joining the industry. And the first question is like, how do I even get paid? So if you can explain that to us. And then Robert, I would love to hear from your perspective why you think people should be worried when an agent is willing to discount their commission.
Okay. So the word commission, if you break it down, co means together. These are the Latin. Um, so co would mean together, and mit means to put. So a commission is to put it together as a word. It literally means if you put it all together, you earn a commission. If you commission a painter to paint a painting, it's for them to get the oil, get the canvas, use the gesso, have the brushes, paint the painting that you're looking for, and complete the painting, and then give it to you. And that commission means they put it all together. The commission in real estate's very much the same. It's the agent's responsibility to take the process and put everything all together to the point of going to closing. And no commission is earned unless you complete the closing of a property. So, which is the risk that a real estate agent takes. For instance, there are listings that I've taken in my career that didn't sell. And that's a painful, difficult thing to have happen, especially when you're optimistic that you can sell something, you engage with a seller, and you do all the marketing that you think. And for one reason or another, it could be that contracts have fallen out because on a home inspection some issue comes up, or it could be that I've even had this happen where one of my clients has passed away on the way to closing, and the transaction didn't work out as a result of it. So any number of things can happen from the beginning of the process to the point of going to closure that can break up the ability to put it all together to get your commission. And all the risk is on the real estate agent and the broker when they start that process in the listing agreement or in the buyer agency agreement. So there are buyer agents who, including myself, who've worked hard to show buyers property and it just doesn't work. The buyer even changes their mind after 2 months of looking for homes and making multiple offers and decides, hey, we're just not going to buy right now. And so the time I put in and the effort, the drive and the gas, everything else like this, and all the research and mental power I put into it ends up not giving any profit. So anyway, that's the definition of commission.
Well, I mean, and that's key. And I think something you touched on there, Eric, is, the way agents get paid. It's not like we work salary, right? So, we can show 15 houses, but if the contract isn't accepted or we don't bring together the sale, whether it's for a buyer or seller, so it's truly such a service industry, right? Like when you go to a restaurant, they don't ask you what your credit limit is, or here, like you don't pay first, right? You eat your dinner or you eat your meal and then you pay. It's similar to what we do. It's like we help you sell the biggest asset you have, or one of, and then at the end, where we get our payment. At future episodes, and again, this is from many years of experience. Eric, I would love to have a chance to discuss the tactics you use, for our fellow agents, the tactics you use to negotiate when it comes to your commission, because I can tell you from someone who's heard it, and from a wide consensus from our agent within our team, they absolutely love the way you structure it. So that's something that you guys can look forward to. But if you can't wait, if you're impatient like me, then you can reach out to us, 800-900-9104. That's 800-900-9104. Or you can send an email to marketing@ericstewartgroup.com, and I'll see what I can do with getting you that information earlier. Now, Mr. Garcia, you mentioned earlier that one of the flags that you look for if you were the consumer looking to sell your house is when an agent comes in and says, I'm willing to discount my commission. Now, there are many models in our industry through brokerages that agents get paid through, right? And it varies from brokerage to brokerage and so on and so forth. And there's a lot that goes into that. So we won't get deep into that. But why should you, or why should I, as the consumer, be worried when an agent is willing to discount their commission?
That's a great question, Amir. So going back to the two areas of expertise, a real estate agent should be able to show a client the marketer and the negotiator, right? So we're going to concentrate on the negotiator aspect right now. So if a realtor it's willing to reduce his or her commission up front only because a client asks, hey, would you be willing to do it for this X commission versus the one you were originally charging, and the agent immediately says, yes, I am willing to do it for that amount, only because they are afraid of not being able to secure that transaction, that business or relationship with that client. That is, it's honestly though, it's just, I think you're not dealing with somebody that has a strong negotiating skills. You're actually just dealing with someone that is only interested in a transactional style of business. So that's what I always tell people. If somebody's willing to do that, you really have a huge red flag over there, because you're supposed to convey value to whomever you're going to be dealing with. And if you cannot do that with your own salary, your own commission, how are you going to treat the sale of a client when the offer comes 50,000 below asking price? How do you going to convince the other agent and the buyer that the house is worth more when you cannot even negotiate your own commission? So that's
Mhm.
basically what we teach here at the Eric Stewart Group. And actually, Eric even has a specific class internally for agents that is preserving your real estate commission, so that you can always convey value to the people you're dealing with and not necessarily cut your commission. It's super simple just to say, yeah, we'll cut my commission just to secure the business. But then when you're cutting your commission, what is being sacrificed, right? That is marketing expenses, there is operation expenses, there are also the broker expenses, there is also the real estate agent expenses. What is getting sacrificed at that point when the commission is cut? And if is it that the agent is going to sacrifice his or her own paycheck? Probably not completely. The broker always gets paid. So then you have operational expenses and marketing. Which one is going to get sacrificed? And one of them is going to be, and I guarantee you 100% of the time, the one that it gets sacrificed most of the time is going to be the marketing side. It's always sacrificed. They're always going to do a little bit less marketing because they're also collecting less commission. And if you do less marketing, that means you can only cast that wide net so long to get as many buyers. And that's the biggest problem. If you look in the luxury real estate side, uh, people really don't discount their commissions a lot because they know that it takes a lot of effort to get that buyer that maybe is going to come from China to buy that penthouse in DC for $20 million. So your marketing efforts have to actually go outside of US mainland and go to other countries to try to secure a buyer for
Mhm.
your place. That's why they don't really mess around with the commission in the luxury side, because they know that it takes a lot of effort, and it's basically all marketing in order to get that person, that client.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely huge. Into something you just said, Robert. It's usually the marketing is where it takes the hit when people are willing to discount, their commission. And then if they're already willing to discount what they're doing, what do you think they're going to do when it comes to the home inspection phase? Something that, we talk about here is the way that most agents approach marketing is a drip from a faucet, right? Like little by little by little by little. Well, what's the point of that? If you want to get your message out there, it needs to be the waterfall effect, right? You got to flood the market with as much information as possible, like some of the things we do here, which I will discuss a little bit later. So that approach is different. That approach is huge. And that makes a difference when it comes to, selling your home and getting top dollar for it. Um, Eric, in your perspective, right? So we just talked about, you told us what the commission was and how agents get paid. You heard Robert talk about what how somebody willing to discount their commission can cost the consumer. So now let's get to why some agents are worth more. And something that I would love to hear you talk about is the price versus value. And this is something that you've mentioned, a lot in our meetings, and, something that we train our agents on. So can you tell us, why are some agents worth more than others?
Thanks, Amir. Warren Buffett, one of my favorite quotes by Warren Buffett is, "The price is what you pay." The price is what you pay, the value is what you get. And truly, you can pay any price under the sun for anything, but it's what you're getting at the end of it, the real value. And the ability of one real estate agent to sell the value of a home, all of the different values of a home, to justify the price is, I think, the main qualifier for hiring that realtor. And whether you pay them a little bit more to do so, it's going to end up being much better for you. I'll give you a case in point. I was being interviewed to sell a property, and a seller had contacted me. Actually, they were referred to me by a friend of theirs who had heard about me. I'd never even talked to the friend. But the friend called this prospective seller and said, I should have called Eric Stewart and his group, and you should try at least interviewing them. And so she called me, and I was being interviewed, but among a variety of different real estate agents, and I'll tell you right now, I'm a firm believer. It's good to interview 2 or 3 brokers before you hire one. Just hiring a local agent, somebody from church or synagogue, or a friend, that's okay. I mean, just I'm a real estate agent. They're friendly and they're nice. That's okay, but you want to have somebody who really understands how to sell the value of your home. So when I met with this seller, I presented a value proposition at $1,200,000 for her property, and the other real estate agents were presenting a value of $995,000 in hopes that maybe they would go up as high as $1.2 million. And I, based upon everything else I could see, like I was talking about earlier, the aerial sense, by selling in multiple locations, you get a better sense of what's really happening in the market. So my advice was 1.2 now, and she agreed with me and hired me. We put it on the market, sold it for over $1,300,000. And so how the agent can see the value, and it was in what she'd done, the location, the lot, the orientation, the elevation of the property, the schools, the improvements, among a variety of other things that all added up to the proper value. So paying somebody, for instance, in her situation, she paid me a full commission because I was worth it, right? I got her what she really wanted, and the other agents were discounting. They were somewhere less, and so this got a number for us that was right where we want to be able to give her the full benefit investment in marketing to get her that kind of return. And it ended up $120,000 over the asking price. It was not a little bit, right? So, and she's thrilled. In fact, when I presented the offers to her, she almost cried and just gave me the biggest hug and said, I can't believe this. The excitement, right? I mean, that's what the joy of a great sale is. I think find a real estate agent who knows how to sell the value of the property. And that open-ended question at the beginning where you ask the agent, tell me a little bit about yourself. If they value themselves, they're going to stand up for their commission, right? You're going to be able to protect your commission because you know what it's going to take for you to do the best job. That's an important consideration too. So thanks again.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, definitely the value usually outweighs the price. So that we make that decision in every aspect, right? Like when we go out to eat or the coffee we decide to drink, so on and so forth. So one of the things I wanted to add in is on that aspect of the value, right? Part of what we do for our listings, right? Part of the how to sell fast and for top dollar is really the way we drive buyers to your homes, right? So if you're looking to list your property, the way we drive a buyer to your property is very, very important. What we do is we have over 10 platforms that we drive them through, and they're online, over 350 websites. We have virtual open houses. Eric has a radio show. We also have a targeted online marketing that gets you at least 10,000 ad views for your specific property. Meaning when a property goes live, we have a tool that we have created, that here at the Eric Stewart Group, that we drive your property to people that are on major websites like ABC, CNN, Yahoo, USA Today, Facebook, ESPN, LA Times, and 350 plus more. We drive traffic to your property, we display your property, and then we bring people back. We also have targeted on the ground marketing that we do, with the signs we put up, with the brochure that we have. You have the 24/7 virtual walkthrough of your property. Like Eric mentioned, if somebody needs to have a big dining room, and your house doesn't have that feature, but you've now prepared to show your home, and they come in and walk out within a couple minutes, that's not value. You don't want to do that, right? So having those 24/7 virtual walkthroughs where they can see everything, a 3D walkthrough, which is really, really important. Those are the things that we pay for, right? That's the reason why, you go to Ruth Chris versus McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with McDonald's, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you want the value, right? So do you
Mm-hmm.
want the Rolls Royce or do you want the Toyota? Again, nothing wrong with the Toyota. I've had one before. A little burgundy Camry, but that's the point that we're saying here with the value, and why some agents are just worth more, because what you get with them, the dedicated person from opening, from the time you go under contract, whether it's a buyer, a dedicated closing department. I mean, we have a lot here that we offer. Gentlemen, before we've reached our hour mark, before I kind of bring up our discussion points for the next session, could you take 60 seconds or less and give us 2 to 3 key takeaways from this episode? And Mr. Stewart, we'll start with you first. If you can just give us 2 or 3 things that, if the audience doesn't pay attention to anything we just said, right? Let's just say they were just here and they didn't pay attention to us, which I find that hard to believe. But if they don't pay attention to anything we said, what are 2, 3 key takeaways that you would bring up from our episode today?
Well, we recommend that you interview, again, at least 2 or 3 brokers before you hire one. And it might seem counter to our interest to suggest that, but truly, it's because we want you to get what's best for you. And that's the way we approach the entirety of our business. It's what's in the best interest of the person we're serving. And it starts that way, for you to have a clear understanding of what you're going to get and understand a little bit more breadth in the process. Secondly, recognize that commission is a putting of everything together, and a lower commission will mean probably a lessened marketing platform series. Like we have, as Amir said, 10 different platforms. There's a lot of investment in time over the past 8 years to create those. So I'd consider those 2 things, and find somebody you enjoy working with. All right.
Yeah. That's key. That's huge. I mean, selling a property could take at least, I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, at least up to 40 days. So it's a lot of time. Sometimes it can go a couple months. Or sometimes, and Eric, we've had cases where they go a couple years, right? Like maybe 7 to 10.
That was a buyer of here who was very picky. It took
Yeah.
me 8 years to sell her a house, but that was a credit to patience. Exactly. But
Patience is huge.
most
And Mr.
houses,
Stewart,
right?
you have it.
Most houses sell right now in less than 10 days, the way the market is. But like you said, sometimes it can go longer. So find somebody you enjoy working with.
Yeah. Mr. Garcia, couple of takeaways. I mean, I don't know why people weren't paying attention, but if they weren't, what are 2 to 3 key takeaways you would take from this amazing episode? I know I'm gloating about it already so much, guys. Sorry.
Sure, no problem. No, thank you, Amir. You've done a great job on putting these together. This is
Thank you.
he's the engineer behind all these beautiful live that we are bringing to you all today. So
Thank you.
yeah, one of the things that to me, I'm a systems guy, and I think it's one of the things that I will say is if the agent you're interviewing does not have a system for the sale of your home, that's a big concern. So it's about a system. You always should have a system about anything. I'm not saying that they should have an answer to everything, but they at least should have a system to find the answer to your question. That's number one. Number two, in this day and age, if someone is not using social media, to try to sell your home. I'm not saying that's the only thing they will do, but that should be one of the many systems they should use or pillars in order to sell your home. You should also be concerned if they're not using social media or they're not putting technology together. If they are going to be the type of agents that all they do is print advertising and that's all they offer you, I suggest, as Eric said, interview 2 other agents. We asked to be one of them, any members of our team, and we'll bring a whole different perspective of how we sell homes with the implementation of systems and technology.
I don't know why we wouldn't be one of them, right? I mean, come on now. So thank you for joining us. You guys heard the key takeaways. We will be back again in 2 weeks on May the 14th. And so about 10 days, we'll be back. We're going to discuss the right sizing process. We don't like to call it downsizing. We call it right sizing because there's many, many different ways you can go with this. We're going to discuss selling your home as is. What does that even mean? What are the risks? What are the rewards out of it, the pros and cons? And one of the interesting things that I've always loved to discuss is home inspections. In this crazy time, sometimes it's not happening. So we'll discuss what is a home inspection. We'll discuss, do you need it? What options do you have when it comes to doing this? And what is the difference between a walk and talk inspection and a full-blown inspection? Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your wisdom. If you guys need to reach out to us, our direct number is 800-900-9104. And again, that's 800-900-9104. Or you can reach out to us at marketing@ericstewartgroup.com. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in 10 days.